Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm here to entertain another, I think it's ACOA 8 today. So still remembering, even though we're doing the series, that the main foundation for Minecraft is to become the boss of your brain, because thoughts come first, and feelings come second, and actions or behavior last. So therefore, by controlling what we allow in, which is the allow is the word, then we control the thoughts, we therefore control our feelings, and then our actions or behavior. So thoughts dictate our lives, that is the point. Okay, so I believe this is episode 8, trying to mix it up with also some levity. So remember that whether you grew up in a substance using and abusing household or a dysfunctional home without the substance use, a lot of it's going to be the same. It's just, or very similar. But with the addiction thing, we just know that it's rampant with shame. Absolutely just rampant with shame. And so also remember that just like anything else, faces of ACOAs, just like faces of those of us with ADHD or autism or anxiety, depression, or bipolar, or whatever, it's all going to look different. So you might have some of these, but not all of these, right? So, okay, so it can be very, very difficult for ACOAs to have fun. Really difficult for us to have fun. And I remember I did an interview at a school down in Massachusetts for recovering teenagers, and this was a big topic because they had to basically learn how to have sober fun, especially because they just didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to play Monopoly and have fun, because they grew up in very addicted houses and they were addicted themselves, and so it was hard to, they had to actually learn that at 15, 16 years old. But it could also just be difficult for us to let loose because we've had, especially when you've grown up as a little kid, having your guard up the high majority of the time, and that's what you've learned, you become conditioned to have your guard up, then it can be really tough to let your hair down and just be goofy. And also there's a fear that if you did let your hair down and be goofy, that you would not reel it back in and pull it back together because you've just so built up with fun deprivation that you would just kind of take off with it. And we also, in addition to that fun thing, one kind of rolls into the other, which also rolls into us being our worst critics, which I think was the last one, is we can take ourselves way too seriously. And think about why. It makes great sense. Because life was intense. When kids, we talked about kids are like puppies, right? Just kind of lazing around and playing and, rolling around and getting belly rubs and playing with other puppies and stuff. And if that wasn't your life, where each and every little thing of the day was just intense. I mean, just getting meals together, the regular scheduling, just the air and just the atmosphere with things being maybe very authoritarian. I definitely had a lot of authoritarian vibes in my house. And yeah, so it can be difficult to have fun. We take ourselves way too seriously often. And then there's a responsibility thing which feeds into that too, right? So if you're I'm also an oldest, so oldest children, even under good, healthy circumstances, often take the leadership role anyway. So if you have that, which I'm the oldest, like I just said, and you've got the addiction thing going on all around you, you can become ultra-responsible. Or the opposite, you can say, the heck with it, I'm not going to be responsible at all. And so yeah, I did a lot of looking out for my sister for sure. And it's also important to know, this is a thing. Responsible children, especially I'm talking about the ACOAs, responsible children within the ACOA, clan, we are often drawn to certain professions. So this doesn't mean that everybody that heads to these professions is an ACOA, but probably if you took a poll, there'd be probably, let's just say, a lot of them. So anything in the helping profession, counselors, anything sort of therapy oriented, anything medical that involves rescuing, okay? So doctors, nurses, medical practitioners, anybody in there, police force, absolutely, military, firefighters, and again, it doesn't mean that it's everybody, but just think about how much sense it makes. And so specifically with the uniformed people, okay, so we've got military, which has a bunch of draws to it, the structure, and mainly the honor. The honor is such a big deal. And this is why those of us who grew up in alcoholic families, especially if you're the oldest, but it can be anybody, you can be the youngest in the middle, whatever, are drawn to the military, being police, men and women and police and firefighters and and doctors. I was determined to be a doctor since I was like this big. And here's the thing, think about it. If you don't want me, you're sure as heck gonna need me, okay? Definitely my deal, and I didn't figure that out till way later. I wanted to be a medical doctor, ended up being a cognitive psychologist, that's what my doctorate's in. But way back, and I was actually interested in this science. It wasn't like, I didn't make that part up. I just realized as an adult, looking back, that a large part of my drive, not all of it, because I'm genuinely interested in the brain and everything, and I think then it was the heart, but anyway, I'm genuinely interested in, but when I look back, if I'm really honest with myself, a lot of it was shame-driven. If you don't want me, you're sure as hell gonna need me. I mean, that was the deal. Also, the honor, because most of us who came from alcoholic families had a lot of embarrassment going on. I mean, I remember once it was an episode, my mother literally threw every single thing my father owned, I mean laundry-wise, out in the front yard, and made one trip after the next, all out in the yard. And we had neighbors, like you could touch them. It was New York, right? You could touch the neighbors, theoretically speaking. A lot of that's just one example. There's a lot of embarrassing stuff. So think about the military, medals. If we're not feeling the honor on the inside, we can wear it on the outside, right? And that honor's real, right? Defending the United States of America. That's a fabulous feeling. Well, I haven't done it, but I would imagine that's a fantastic feeling to know that you're defending our country. It's great. And that said, it can also have the added benefit of replacing sort of what was missing growing up and not feeling like our families had honor and that we were embarrassed of our families or maybe ashamed of our families. Same thing with the police and medals and uniforms and firefighters and medals and uniforms. And of course, again, there's all the rescue stuff with being needed, right? You sure as heck gonna need me. With people who drive ambulances or say volunteer in general with ambulances and anybody medical and therapists and also sometimes teachers. So there's all kinds of stats on this. You can look it up. And the ACOAs get it done. I'll tell you that. Usually you can go either way, definitely. There's the ultra-responsible or they're not responsible at all. Mostly we're get it done people. And I'll just say one last thing because we're going to eventually get into how there's ADHD overlap because it's not a huge shocker when somebody kind of shows up with ADHD and like, oh, where'd that come from? And then you find there's all kinds of addiction in the family because that's just not a surprise. Let's just say that. The only symptom I don't have of ADHD of all three, so it's split into three types: the inattentional, the impulsive, and the combined type, right? Only one I don't have is procrastination, and I chalk that up to my upbringing in an addicted home because I learned early on, it kind of overrode whatever I might have done, and maybe I wouldn't have procrastinated anyway. More than likely, probably. It's the one thing, again, the one box not checked for the Fast Mind Club, and because I learned early on that if I want to get it done, I had to do it myself. I mean, it's just, I learned that early on. I got my kids in the preschool list where I was practically still pregnant. I think I actually did that once. Where I was still like expecting like to make sure they didn't miss it. Like just constantly being 3 steps ahead, making sure signing up for their different activities and things. And I just had it in me that get on it. Yeah, because I was conditioned like that. Okay, so quick recap. It can be very difficult for we ACOAs to have fun. We can take ourselves way too seriously. We can either become ultra responsible or sometimes ultra irresponsible. And we are many of us are attracted to the helping professions and or those are all helping professions, I think, and especially those that involve a uniform of some type, because when we're not feeling the honor on the inside, we are very inclined to wear the honor on the outside so that we can show to the world that my real self does have honor. See, it's right here. Even if my family didn't, look at what you got in front of you, and I do. There you go. All right, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful, very frozen northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.